Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabansi. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, and entertainment, when we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today, I'm going to have a lot of fun with this show here today. But before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, as you guys know, at least for the people that have been following the channel from quite some time, I am fascinated about the business aspect of sports media. I'm fascinated with it. One of the reasons is because one can view me as an outsider, because we're coming in as independent creators here, coming into the business. So a lot of the information that people are privy to at working at these different companies, people like us actually have to go through the grind and actually research a lot of this information. So I enjoy it tremendously, and obviously it has a significant impact on what we're doing here. Now, yesterday, we produced a show around ESPN, and I said to you guys in that show that, listen, the sports media landscape is changing rapidly. The way things used to be before is not how they're going to be going into the future. I said this and I gave numerous examples. As a matter of fact, one of the examples I gave you was with the Sports Center. Essentially, Sports Center is a highlight show, but given the advent of social media, the internet, these streaming platforms, YouTube, the fact that now these companies, these creators or these other media platforms can go out there and immediately produce highlights, the need to go sit down and watch Sports Center is slowly diminishing, right? And it hurts shows like this. It hurts their bottom line, right? So the landscape is changing. Of course, you have those that in the independent sector creating content. They're also getting some viewers, maybe eating into the market share of some of these bigger companies. So things are changing rapidly. So this morning I came across an article from a website that I'm really starting to enjoy to read a lot of information from, which is called Front Office Sports, right? They have some fantastic pieces here. So I was reading through one, and this particular article centered on the New York Times disbanding its sports department. I was like, whoa. Let me talk about this one here today. But before we get into it, this video is brought to you by sponsor Aura, who's also the official sponsor of the T-Wolves. Do you know what the fastest growing crime in America is today? It's identity theft. Imagine trying to log into your email only to see that your password has been changed. Then you start getting weird notifications from your bank and credit cards, only to find out that all of your personal and sensitive information has been totally compromised. If you think it can happen to you and your family, just know that in 2020, over 49 million Americans were victims to identity theft, costing them a combined $56 billion. That is why we are excited to partner with Aura, who's the sponsor of this video. Aura is the #1 identity theft and financial fraud protection. Aura monitors the dark web and alerts you if any of your passwords and accounts have been breached. And funny enough, after using Aura, I discovered some of my credentials were floating around in the dark web, and the app showed me exactly when and where the breach happened. In addition, Aura allows you to set spending alerts, and they'll notify you of any suspicious transactions. Aura is 4 times faster than any of its competitors in alerting you if someone is trying to open a credit card or obtain a loan using your name. And remember this, every 14 seconds, someone becomes a victim of identity fraud. Don't let it happen to you. Now click the link in the description and try Aura for free for 2 weeks and see if any of you or your family's personal information has been compromised. Start your free trial at aura.com/dreamerspro. And when you try Aura by using the link in the description below, also know that you're supporting this channel. Thank you. Okay, so let me get into this article here. New York Times disbands sports department. Listen to this. No layoffs are expected as journalists will move to the other department at Times instead. Continues on. The New York Times is disbanding its sports department, a team of more than 35 journalists and editors. For both online and print, the paper will instead rely on sports coverage from The Athletic, which the New York Times bought for $550 million in January of 2020. The decision from the Times marks an evolution in how we cover sports. Executive editor Joe Kahn and deputy managing editor Monica Drake wrote in an email Monday to staffers. Members of the New York Times Guild said in a statement late Monday afternoon they will fight this flagrant attempt at union busting with every tool we have. Times leadership is attempting to outsource union jobs on our sports desk to a non-union Times subsidiary under the preposterous argument that the Times can subcontract its sports coverage to itself. The statement NYT Guild members read, management gave the Guild virtually no notice of this change. Many members learned of the company's decision in a Times newsletter alert that popped up on our phones minutes into a meeting called to inform sports staff of our department's dissolution. No layoffs are planned for the Times, as employees from its sports department will instead move to the other department at the company. We plan to focus even more directly on distinctive high-impact news and enterprise journalism about how sports interacts with money, power, culture, politics, and society at large, the editor wrote in an internal email. At the same time, we will scale back to the newsroom's coverage of games, players, teams, and leagues. The Athletic laid off about 20 journalists last month to reorganize its newsroom. The Athletic is not unionized, but a union represents the Times newsroom. The New York Times publisher, A.G. Sulzberger, if I got your name right, and CEO Meredith Kopit said Monday that since its acquisition 18 months ago, The Athletic had meaningful growth in terms of audience, revenue, number of subscribers with paid access. And the article basically continues on to say, we intend to utilize The Athletic, which has among the largest sports newsrooms in the world, to provide Times readers with a greater abundance of sports coverage than ever before. And it continues on to say that. Did y'all hear what this article just said? Did you hear what this article just said? That they're now downsizing a department that I'm assuming must have existed for at least 5 years plus. And they're now going to be basically sending these guys over, or basically now passing off that work to The Athletic. Now, I'm sure many of you guys who follow sports know very well who The Athletic is. Great website. They have great content over there. So why are we producing this? How does this relate to sports media? Let me give you guys another example. ESPN just had about roughly 20 layoffs, correct? Fantastic. And one of the reasons that they said they were doing this because of cord cutting. Now, I don't know what the aggregate number is in terms of the salaries per annum. I don't know what it is. But Pat McAfee just got offered a major deal, well above $20 million, if I'm not mistaken, a year. So then the question that one has to ask is, if you guys are cutting costs, how are you able to hire someone like Pat McAfee? I don't quite understand it. But the answer then becomes fairly simple once you think about it a little bit more. Pat McAfee is essentially bringing a portion, at least, of his viewers to ESPN. And ESPN is then going to sell ads against those viewership numbers. And I assume that the revenue ESPN will generate from the Pat McAfee show will be greater than the total revenue of some of those people that they let go, of the total revenue that some of those people that some of those people that were bringing to the network that they let go of. That's what I think. That's exactly what I think. Essentially, what they're doing is they're licensing his show. He didn't sell his show. He's licensing it to ESPN about 4 years or so. That's essentially what's happening. So basically what they're doing is they took the people that they had there, let them go, and then brought in somebody else, a contractor in a way, to come and fill that void, which is essentially what the New York Times is doing. We're going to close this division down because these guys are doing it. They're doing something right. If you listen carefully, The Athletic was acquired, which means that at one point they were independent. And they bought them for $500 million. Listen to the number carefully. $500 million, obviously, because of their revenue model, their traffic, and all of that stuff that they were getting. To me, I think you're going to be seeing a lot more of this taking place moving forward. You're going to see a lot more of this taking place moving forward. If you go out there and look at the number of people now creating content independently that are being sponsored by various sports books, other companies, it's a startling amount. And if you date back 5 years ago, none of that existed. None of it existed. Now everybody needs a podcast. And oh, by the way, this episode that you're watching today will be on our Dreamerspro podcast that we'd like you guys to take a listen to in the pinned comments below. You definitely don't want to miss that. You better believe we're getting in on the game too. So what I want to know from you guys, what do you think about this report? Where do you think sports media is heading in the next 5 years? Whatever you guys think, leave your thoughts in the comment section, and we catch you guys on the next show.